If you're watching the video, I assume that you are no stranger to gacha games. So we're talking Raid Shadow Legends, Genshin Impact, Watcher of Realms, Awakened Chaos Era. What's the other one that the developers of Genshin made? The other game they have, I forgot the name of it. Anyways, the important part is with these games, what do they all have in common? They want your money. At the end of the day, that is it. There isn't a whole lot in some cases to the gameplay mechanics. Some things just don't really change. Some things are going to stay the same throughout the game. But as long as players are paying, the game is going to stay alive. So what happens when a player does not spend a single cent on those games? Well, we're in Watcher of Realms today. I'm going to be showing you my account. I recently just crossed the 1 year played. If I go and take a look at my daily sign-in here, we can see that I'm between day 390 and day 420 for a total of 405 days signed in. So it's been over a month, I guess, since I hit the 1 year. But I figured I would show off my account and just kind of show you guys essentially where we're at and what I've been able to achieve without spending a single cent. Now, when I say I haven't spent a single cent, I mean literally 1 cent on the game. I have not bought the Iona starter bundle. I have not bought any of the Dragon Passes, nothing like that. I am 100% and truly a free-to-play player. So keep that in mind when you're looking at my account, because there are definitely some areas that you are going to be like, whoa. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at my champion roster. Now, there are certainly some champions in here I am quite lucky to have pulled. Notably, of course, I have Sylas and Hex both. I have Elowen as well, who I actually got very, very late in my career. I'd been wanting her for a long time. I do have Boreas. Unfortunately, I pulled him after he got nerfed, so that was a bit disappointing. I have Zilla2. My first ever legendary was Nyx, and I have pulled a couple of copies of her as well, so that's pretty cool. I definitely don't use her as much as I used to, though, unfortunately. I did the guaranteed events for both Dahlia as well as Anora, and I do think I have the summoning videos for both of those on my channel if you're interested. Down here, I do also have Comet, so one of the best DPSs in the game, of course. I use Inoma now a lot inside my clan boss just because of her attack speed increase. I do have Arrogance, and I do also have Lust in here as well. I do actually have her A1. I had pulled her during the first time her event was around. I didn't manage to get like the guaranteed summons or whatever, but I pulled her early. I was just messing around pulling summons in this latest event, and I actually got her then as well. I have basically most of the legendaries that you would want in this game to help you progress through content. All the way down here, there's some that I don't even have built yet. So I'm definitely not struggling with the champions, that's for sure. I don't find shards to be in particularly short supply. What my hang-up is right now is skill tomes, skill crystals. So a lot of these champions aren't fully skilled out just because you're not going to get enough of the crystals to really build out your entire roster unless you spend money on them, which is kind of by design, of course, right? Like, they don't want you to max out your champions very easily because then it defeats the whole purpose of swiping your credit card and remortgaging your house and whatnot. Let's take a look at some of the epics as well. So I do have Idril here, of course, who's fully awakened. Most of my epics are going to be fully awakened except Iona, which is a little bit disappointing. I haven't pulled the, I guess technically the 6th one of her yet. I'm building out a lot of these champions, so a lot of the epics are definitely struggling. I definitely have more legendaries built. As you'd probably expect, it's a champion collector game. The legendaries are just going to be better than the epics, right? So let's go ahead and take a look where I'm at. Inside the arena, I'm in Platinum 1 for the single target DPS. I do usually sit around Platinum 2, halfway up Platinum 2 roughly, but I've been falling out a little bit just because I haven't been doing arena a whole lot. In terms of defenses, these are the defenses that I use for each of the particular arenas. So for anti-air, you can see this is my team. I'm just heavily leaning into the Piercers faction with... oh man, I forgot this champion's name. With Dolores in there, of course, for the attack boost. For the AoE, I'm using Comet and Boreas as my main DPS, and then Anora comes in to do some crazy stuff as well. And then for single target, I'm using all the champions you'd expect for the single target, right? So it is what it is. Now let's go ahead and let's take a look at Guild Boss. Now, I won't lie, Guild Boss is definitely something where I struggle in this game. I don't have Setram or some of the other champions that can really pop the shields, especially on Nightmare 4. So I kind of use that as an excuse to not hit as high as I probably should be. I'm one keying the 3rd chest up right now, so I'm getting roughly 12,000 blood on Nightmare 4, and then on Nightmare 3, I get roughly 12 to 15,000 as well. So I'm hitting the 4th chest, but I don't have quite enough to make it all the way up to the 5th chest quite yet. In terms of my team, this is what I'm rocking. So I do have Baron in here essentially to help me survive the shield sections on Nightmare 4 specifically. And then, of course, I just have some good DPS units in here. So that's something to keep in mind. I do actually use Laurel in every single one of my clan boss runs just so I can cycle her around and get some of the cooldown reductions or the ultimate reductions that you can get with her rage regen and whatnot. Now, I do also have Volca in here. She isn't particularly well built and she isn't really skilled out, so she doesn't have very good uptime on her decreased defense abilities. And I'm kind of thinking about maybe switching her out with somebody like a Mari, just because Mari can keep it up very consistently. At the end of the day, though, that would hurt my Laurel's rotation times. For DPS, I'm relying mainly on Sylas and Hex. And then I do have this particular champion coming in now, too. So Micah. Micah actually pairs very, very well with the Zillitu, of course, right? So if you have Zillitu in there placing the burns, and then Micah comes in and does that explosion once the burns have been placed, it's a very good combination. I think I run the exact same team on Nightmare 3. Yeah, I do. Even though I don't really need Baron because I can pop all the shields. Clan Wars are kind of, they are what they are. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the raids, since I'm sure you guys are curious about that. So we do have an event going on right now for Gear Raid 1. On all of the main dungeons, I have managed to beat stage 19 of every single gear raid. I haven't been able to push myself to stage 20 on any of them yet, unfortunately. That jump is just so astronomical. It is absolutely insane. This is the particular team that I use here. So notable callouts, of course, Comet is coming in with very good builds, very good damage, all that sort of good stuff. And then another great callout actually is Greed. Greed was one of the main reasons I was actually able to beat this one for the first time. Boreas is very good as well because he does have that anti-healing, of course, so he can come in and basically help you to take him down a lot easier. That's my team. There are some substitutions that you could make, so for example, you don't really need a Nora. She's just kind of there as extra DPS. Vierna and basically any of the legendary mages could be replaced with, a Greed. And if you have good enough gear on, say, for example, an Iona, she can technically do it as well, but it is going to be very kind of iffy, right? So if you're not bringing in top-tier mages like I am, I'd recommend just going ahead and essentially replacing it with somebody who does like a heal reduction, and then, some lower-tier mages if you have them. For Gear Raid 2, it actually took me a long time to beat it, mainly just because the mechanics are very annoying to get around, in my opinion, so I wasn't bothered really to come in and, place them down and then cycle the champions and all that just to, get through it, essentially. This is the team that I ended up using, though. And I know that this is kind of the opposite of a free-to-play friendly team, even though I am 100% free-to-play. A big part of it was actually King Hars. King Hars certainly helped out with his shielding abilities. Now, there are other champions that can do that as well, so you don't necessarily just have to rely on King Hars. Obviously, Brokir was very, very crucial to this as well with his unkillables, and then, of course, Baron coming in with those unkillables as well. If you have a Baron, definitely build him out. I was kind of on the fence building him for quite some time, and I definitely do not regret it, so I'd recommend building him out if you have one. Iona is very important in this as well, just because she's keeping up those heals. But probably the most important is actually going to be Sadie. So Sadie can come in and basically just do physical damage reduction during the Golem Shriek, so that your champions don't die, and then they just take small portions of that damage over the next few seconds. She is absolutely insane for damage mitigation, and she will hard carry you through this, especially with the way her range works. So I don't know where exactly we see the range. I think it's in here somewhere. Maybe not, maybe not. Here it is, right here. So this is her ultimate range. So she basically goes in a cross kind of pattern, and she can protect your other healers as well as your DPS and your tanks. Like, she is absolutely fantastic. If you ever, definitely build her out. Gear Raid 3 is basically just, do you have people from the Piercer faction? That's pretty much what it comes down to. In my particular case, of course, I do. So Nyx definitely helped carry me through this particular content when I first started. Brienne is fantastic. Of course, having Idril in here is absolutely insane as well. She can, help to snipe some of those faraway mobs that you might not be able to regularly. Hex helps out with damage. And then, of course, my boy Sylas. Sylas makes the boss look like an absolute joke. He is fantastic. Another champion that I want to try and build out at some point here is going to be this werewolf dude. I don't know where he is, actually. Let's go ahead and see if I'm... rarity. There we go. So let's go ahead and sort by rarity, and then he should be down here somewhere. So this particular guy here, Vargas, he gets invisibility, so I actually want to test him out and see if he's very good for this particular gear raid. There's some other champions that get invisibility too, so I want to see if they're any good. Basically, where I struggle is the mobs that come in on the right-hand side. I'm not really able to defeat them the best, so having somebody that's invisible and can take those out would help me move up in the stages. Now, for other gear dungeons, I have not pushed far whatsoever. For Gear Dungeon 1, I am at Stage 2. This is basically the furthest that I can farm. For Gear Dungeon 2, I am at Stage 2. So, nothing too crazy. That's essentially where I pushed up to. I have been playing Watcher of Realms very casually, so I'm not necessarily putting as much time or effort into it as something like Raid Shadow Legends. There's some days where I just flat out don't even play the game, so my clan boss rewards just kind of roll over. So keep that in mind, right? Like if you were using this as your main game, and if you were hardcore pushing each day, you would 100% have better progression than me inside the game. Artifact Material Raid is probably something else you guys are curious about. I have, of course, beaten Artifact Material Raid Stage 18. Now, as always, Silas is going to be an absolute huge part of this. I'll actually just go ahead and show you one battle here so you can kind of see how it works. Essentially, Silas is doing the majority of the DPS, while Brokir and some other champions hold down the fort in terms of just defending against it. So you can see already Silas is doing decent damage, but as soon as he pops his ult, he just goes absolutely ham. So we should be popping it here right away. Or maybe we'll just do it without ulting. Here it is. There's Silas's ult, and you can see he just absolutely shreds the boss. It is insane. And we finish the fight just like that. So it's an incredibly fast fight. If you have a Silas built, you're going to get through it no problem. And of course, if I had popped that ultimate earlier, it'd probably be even a quicker fight as well. Let's go ahead and show you some of the champion builds. I know champion builds are always a cool thing to look at in whatever game that you're taking a look at. So some of the builds that I am particularly proud of, we have Silas here with 16, almost 17,000 attack. He has 432 attack speed, 86% crit rate, and 237 crit damage. Now, one thing to keep in mind, different in this game versus Raid Shadow Legends. In this game, you don't necessarily need 100% crit rate, which is something different about how you gear your champions. In Raid Shadow Legends, you have all your buffs go up, your debuffs, and then you have one nuke, one chance to do all your damage, especially with an AoE or a single target nuker, right? It's basically just that one hit. Do you crit? Do you kill them? Yes or no? In this game, you can see that my Silas is attacking every 1.1 seconds, regardless of if he's critting or not. So having a crit rate definitely over 50%, I would say definitely over 75%, really at the minimum is kind of where you want it, because that'll give you a lot more consistency in your runs, especially Clan Boss. But realistically, you don't need 100% crit rate, so just keep that in mind when we're looking at the rest of these builds. Another build that I quite like is going to be my Comet build. So he's definitely very decent as well. So he has 15,709 attack. He's going to have 304 speed. He has 100.5% crit rate and then 239 crit damage as well. This guy can absolutely blast mobs, especially in the live arena. Some other builds you might be wondering about. So somebody like my Hex. So basically Silas and Comet have gotten my best gear for damage dealers, and then everybody else is kind of just an afterthought. So keep that in mind. But my Hex build, we're rocking with 13, almost 14,000 attack. We have 279 on the speed, 90% crit rate, 292 on the crit damage. This guy can also boost his own attack speed as well, so he's absolutely fantastic. Let's go ahead and take a look at Brokir. This guy is basically my tank. He has all my best tank gear so far. We got 106,000 HP, 10,800 defense. We don't really worry too much about the attack speed, so I haven't really put anything in there. And then, of course, crit rate and crit damage are kind of negligible. I'm not counting on him to be doing hitting. I'm just counting on him staying alive. For other builds, we have my Ioma, whatever her name might be. So this is going to be the build on her. We have 16,000 attack. Attack is basically the stat that scales your healing in this game. 28,000 HP. Only 1,000 defense, which is very low. We do have 556 attack speed, which is pretty crazy. And then for healing effect, it just kind of is what it is. I have 20 on there. Now, this particular gear is basically always bouncing between Elowen and this particular champion, just so that I can essentially have a healer, right? So depending on where I'm using them in the game, she is being used in my clan boss team, and then for my other clan boss, a secondary clan boss that I can't remember the name of at the moment, I use Eloin instead. In terms of attack speed champions, oh, I took the gear off of her, actually. I wonder where that particular gear went. Helga is one of my fastest attacking champions currently. I'm wondering... Shoot. I can't remember where I put the gear. Let's go ahead and do a quick change here. Let's start looking for some champions that should have gear that they might not. It might be this particular champion here. I think it is Micah that I switched it to, actually. So as you can see, when I have this build equipped, she has about 84% crit rate. She's going to have 579 attack speed as well, which is absolutely insane. She is a very good champion for the secondary clan boss, where you have to place like the stuns or the freezes or whatnot, because with her hits, she can help to essentially push back and decrease the attack on his special ability, which is fantastic. Overall, definitely love this game a lot. It's very, very fun. The champions look really cool, in my opinion. I'll go ahead and take a look at the gallery here, too, and talk about some champions that I'm definitely wanting. So, Salazar would be quite nice to get. I pulled everything for him when he was on the 15X, but I didn't get him. I ended up getting like 3 legendaries during that event, but none were him. Jira would be quite cool to get as well. She looks like a very, very cool champion. She's used in a lot of arena teams, especially. Other champions that I'd like to get, so somebody like a Torador is fantastic for clan wars, oddly enough. We have new champions being added all the time, too, which is pretty cool. In terms of marksman, there's really just 2 that I want. So first of all, Setram. Setram would help to propel my clan boss team forward a little bit, because he is basically just a shield buster. And then Hatsuit. If I manage to get Hatsuit, my marksman arena team is basically just GG. It's over. That's like the best team you can have, essentially. She's so incredibly good for so many areas of the game. And then in terms of mages, I would say there's not really anyone that I'm hardcore wanting right now. Like, there's champions that would be nice. So, for example, if I manage to get a Praetus, that would be pretty nice. Once I actually get in it, he looks pretty decent as well, and you're definitely going to see a guide on him. But apart from that, I'm not really needing any of these people, so it's kind of just, quality of life. For healers, I pretty much seem to have everybody that I could want at the moment as well. Leia could be nice. She does some, decent stuff there, but again, she's not a need. It's more of just a want. So this account is definitely blessed in terms of the champions that I've been pulling. Now, in terms of champions that I'm not so happy about, I've pulled 4 duplicate Abominations, which is absolutely insane, because I didn't actually fuse him at any point either. I pulled him, and then I pulled 4 more of him over my time playing, because I have him plus 4 awakened now, which is absolutely insane. So definitely a little bit of bad luck there, but it is what it is. With an account like this, I can't really complain too much. Let me know if you guys play Watcher of Realms. Let me know how far you've progressed inside the game. And as always, I'll see you in the next video.